Hello and welcome to GEOSCOPE with me, Graham Hughes, and Ollie Bowler Hatman. How you doing, Ollie?
All right.
It's we're going to be talking about nuclear war tonight. That'll be fun.
Yes.
Should we talk about nuclear war?
Yes, because it's the second time Putin has threatened nuclear war this week.
Cool.
So,
Sorry, this week.
Yes. Well, so it's the second time he's threatened nuclear war this year. Sorry, not this week.
Oh, this year. Oh, God.
But, yeah.
We've already done that once this week.
Yeah.
Should we say hello to everyone? Oh, go on then. You go.
Just for those who are keeping count, last year Putin threatened himself 5 times, but if you include people like his foreign minister and other sort of government high ups, it was about 7 or 8 times. So,
well, there's no point in having nuclear weapons if you aren't going to threaten other people with them.
Exactly.
Big shout out to everyone in the chat crew. We've got Puninator there. We've got Devil Law. We've got Sfax. We've got Vendetta and Benjamin. We've got Paul Ewan. We've got Emma Price. And Benjamin's asking so far how far up the river without a paddle is the orange one, the Thames actually, because it's full of shit. We'll come to the orange one later. We're going to talk about
we'll get the bad stuff out of the way first, then we'll talk about
although Ryan is saying happy Eurovision week. Yes, it is Eurovision.
Oh yes,
on
it
Saturday,
is,
so that's quite exciting. So
should we do a Eurovision part next week about who won and what was our favorite
I think we should.
Eurovision song next
week?
I think that'll be good.
Did I tell you I went last year when it was in Liverpool?
Oh well, yes, it was. Yeah.
Would have won, final. It was so good. It was so good. Tried to get tickets to Taylor Swift and Glastonbury this year. Failed on both accounts. But have you seen who's playing Glastonbury? It's like Coldplay and like Shania Twain or something. That's it.
It's not well. It's actually for some people that might be a good lineup, but
well, yeah, I guess so. Well, you're gonna be there waiting for the one Shania Twain song that everyone knows, and that's it. Go on, do the song we all know. I just want to say to Puninator, I'm not going to ask Ollie that question unless you pay. Super chats are open if you want to ask daft questions. Or sensible ones about nuclear weapons. So, let's be serious for a moment, if we can. So, what you're saying is that President Vladimir Putin, who was sworn in for the 5th time today, not like 5 times in a day, I mean 5 times since the year 2000, he was sworn in today as the president of Russia. Again, he took 8 years off, didn't he, to be prime minister?
Yep. I know, what a holiday.
Yeah.
what a holiday.
When he was still in charge of the country, and then he changed the constitution so that he could run for another 2 terms. And then when they ran out, he changed the constitution again, saying that he could be president for life. And now he's the longest leader of Moscow since Stalin. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone from the EU turned up. America didn't send an ambassador. The UK didn't send a representative. I don't think anyone bar Belarus sent a representative. So I'm definitely still the snub going on.
Hey, Ollie, I'm being accused of going all Tory here because I'm demanding money for questions. Cash for questions. That's what
that's the real scandal.
Anyway, right. And Spank Flaps, which is the best name on it, is asking, Mother, do you think they'll drop the bomb? It's from a Pink Floyd song,
this
mate.
This is really the $1 million question. So before we get to will he or won't he, we've got to cover what happened this week. So obviously Putin really annoyed that all these countries have joined NATO. So what does this mean when these countries have joined NATO? This now means that they can request stationing of foreign troops. In this case, it will be American troops. There are now American troops in a number of these new NATO countries, particularly in Finland along that border. But we've also seen Poland now request new sort of missile support. So they want American missiles to be stationed now in Poland. Now, these aren't nuclear missiles that they are currently requesting. They've requested sort of long-range American missiles, basically try and deter Putin from sort of aggressive actions currently at the moment. But in response to sort of this, Putin has said, right, we are now going to order tactical nuclear drills. So the big difference of what we're about to show you in a minute is the difference between what is a big strategic nuke, which are the big boys, shall we say, and the small tactical ones. And we're going to sort of show you in a minute a map and why Putin would use one.
Okay. Do you want me to do the map? Do you want me to get the map up?
Yep. So yeah, bring the map. So
here's the map.
What you're seeing here is this is Kramatorsk, and this is next to Donetsk, is one of the second biggest towns, or towns, I say, cities in Ukraine. And this is right in the path of where Putin is currently pushing. You've seen a lot of talk of actions and sort of, gains by Russia recently in the moment. That's where they are sort of heading along, in this direction. Yeah. And if you've seen the casualty reports, just trying to take Bakhmut, what we saw in trying to take towns like Kramatorsk and Avdiivka, the Russians suffered massive, massive casualties. If you look at the bottom, just down there, you'll see Chais Yar, the current place they are trying to take, but their ultimate objective is this town. So their or at least Putin's conundrum is simply this. You spend hundreds of thousands of Russians' lives trying to sort of break through, and then you come up to Kramatorsk, and Kramatorsk in particular has been the almost center ground, staging ground for a lot of the action, a lot of the military action, supplies action. This is an incredibly well-defended town. So this is why you would get Putin potentially using a tactical nuke here. Now, this is sort of the bigger end of the weapons that he's recently been using, these tactical nukes. So this has been tuned to sort of about 50 kilotons. Normally, they can be changed from that to about 1. But if you want to get rid of a town that is in your way, that you want to open up, then this is what you would do. You would drop one of these on Kramatorsk to essentially try and wipe it out of the way. This would essentially sort of open up a hole in the Ukrainian lines, which theoretically would then, the Russians would then go through all this, bear in mind. So they would go through all that radiation and open up that hole in the line.
This is terrifying. Are we giving them ideas? Should we not be talking about this? Should we talking about?
This has been talked about before, but this now with the drills, this is what if Putin's seriously going to use one, that's where he's going to use it.
Oh my God, now, Ollie, this is
now
so
let me give you the good reason, and we'll come on to another reason why this is not likely to happen.
Oh, thank God for that.
First of all, now that I've scared you,
now that you've seriously freaked the shit out of everyone,
let me give you why you don't have to be really scared. Now, Putin would only really do that if he saw no other way to sort of do this. Currently, at the moment, like I say, Ukrainian aid is on its way to the front lines. Once that aid starts to reach those front lines, it is going to start stabilizing. You're going to see the Ukrainians start to use all the ATACMS missiles that they've got from America, the new artillery stuff, all this stuff that they are now being put into action. They've talked about before about the F-16s going in there, the missiles that they have on there, some of the stuff on there. So the battlefield currently at the moment will probably change in probably about a matter of weeks. But this will now give Ukraine the edge that they need to start pushing the Russians back again. So the lines will ultimately probably change again in a couple of weeks. But these have been very small gains. Russia hasn't been able to gain any sort of strategic advantage through all this stuff. But he ain't going to do it, because what have we had this week as well? We've had Xi. Xi and Chinese generals have been always on Putin, putting pressure on their sort of Russian counterparts, saying, do not use nukes, do not use anything like this whatsoever, or else we ain't going to support you. Like, any support you are currently getting from us ends the second you drop that. So he ain't going to do that because he relies on that. And if he were
serious
to do that,
about that, do you think they would
Oh, they absolutely would, because the second Russia uses any sort of army form nuclear weapon, they will become an international pariah. Like every country that is currently supporting them.
Well, why would Iran stop supporting them? Like, why would China? Like, why would they
just
care?
so it would completely upend any and all political sort of norms. No one has obviously dropped a bomb sort of in an act of aggression really since World War II. So this would be seen by every single country in the world as a complete and absolute like red line. Like if they do this, there will be international repercussions on this on a very, very major scale. And I can't see any of these sort of partner countries really supporting them. And China has said that if you do this,
I reckon Iran would. I reckon North Korea would. Lots of weapons.
Oh yeah, North Korea's still going to support them.
Well, exactly. So the pariah states, Venezuela's still going to support them. Nauru, probably. Thank you very much for the super chat, Puninator. I'm not going to ask it. All I can say is, will he drop the bomb? But in Mother Russia, if we ask if the bomb will drop Vlad, so basically if he did use a tactical nuclear weapon and killed tens of thousands of people, would that be the end of his reign of terror?
Oh, it would, because at that point, like this would be a red line for everyone. Like, at this point, NATO would get involved. Like this wouldn't be standing on the sidelines at this point. Like NATO would at that point get involved, and they would have to sort of at that point feel, NATO would get involved. There's no other way around it. It would be the ultimate red line breaking move if Putin decided to do this, and he knows it. We've seen this type of nuclear saber rattling before. As worrying as it is to sort of see that map, the devastation that it can be just on that small scale level, the reality is doing that would be almost actively saying, come and get me, everyone, because the only way you're going to remove me, who is probably the first, person in the 21st century to drop a nuclear bomb in an act of aggression, ain't being removed unless he's being removed forcibly from power. There's also people in the Russian government who probably would sort of ignore those orders as well, from what we've heard from, again, the Chinese resources as well. That is sort of very sort of, reassuring to sort of hear, but at that point, it would be full-on NATO involvement, and you would go sort of full-on into war. However, something else also happened this week as well to bring up. Putin not very happy that we have given over a lot of storm shadows to Ukraine, and we've basically said, well, you know what, Ukraine, you do with them what you will. If you want to go strike targets in Russia, you go for it. So Putin has also said this week that he now would consider striking British military targets both here in the UK and abroad as well. So, Article 5, if that happened as well.
That's the article about everyone, if one place is attacked, then them all.
I don't think he's so foolish to sort of do this, but I think he's now reaching that point of sheer desperation.
Yeah, but why? I mean, this is what. Okay, I don't get this, because all the things that we said would happen to Russia about its economy collapsing, about the ruble being worthless, it hasn't happened, and he seems to be doing all right. Like, not brilliantly, but standard for Russia. People there that they're used to hardship, and they're used to having to queue up for bread and stuff. That it gives them warm and fuzzies about the good old days. And so I can't really see why he's got his back against the wall, because he knows that if Trump gets in, if he just keeps on, keeps throwing convicted criminals at the front line, and don't forget the population of Russia is over 100 million people. I mean, there's a lot of people.
You can't keep at these losses when they've lost over like 500,000 men at this point.
They haven't lost 500,000
according to
men.
The BBC reports, things like that. They can't.
500,000.
Yeah,
I thought it was like maybe 75,000 or something. It was 500,000. Jesus.
Yeah, they're getting there. They're climbing the ladders on this. Actually, no, I might have been a bit too optimistic about that. Actually, last time I saw the report, they were like 500,000.
Yeah, but that's
sort of
injured, isn't it? That's not dead.
Yeah.
That's
No, that is dead.
That's dead.
That's dead. Yeah.
Half
We
a million
don't know.
people.
Obviously, we won't know the full casualty numbers, and these are coming from Western sources. Trying to sort of verify as best as they can what these are. But Russia has taken a lot of casualties, and just trying to take Avdiivka, they took over 17,000 just to take one very unimportant strategic city.
Okay, but they still have shitloads of people living in Russia who would die for.
And this is why Putin still has not deployed full, mobilization. But he still hasn't reached that level where he's pulled that lever.
I think he'll go for full mobilization before he thought about using a nuclear weapon. Because what I'm saying is, if he just treads water for the next few months, when Trump gets in at the end of the year, he's laughing. That will cut off any aid, any support to Ukraine. NATO will be absolute. It won't be neutralized, but it'll be neutered to a certain extent because Trump isn't going to go and defend any of the NATO countries if they get invaded.
Yeah, I'm going to think. I think I'm going to think positive about this. I think
says Mr. Nuclear Bomb Man without being a nuclear bomb man.
Trump is going to lose. I do think Trump is going to lose, but I think when you sort of see this, it sort of gives people the idea how dangerous and deadly sort of nuclear weapons really are. Because honestly, we don't want to see the real effects. Looking at something like that, the nuke map from Google, it shows you the real sort of devastation that these types of weapons can bring on people and what they can unfortunately they do. And I think sort of showing people why the devastation these can bring, I think it sort of puts people off more using them and sort of pulls people back again from the brink to understand what you are sort of committing to on that. The other thing I do want to bring up as well, because I've just seen Emma Price's comment, super chat comment as well, is
thank you.
The sanctions are working. It's that Putin is in full war economy mode. So even at this moment, he is only propping up his economy because everything is just going to fund the war. It is not a normal economy that is currently working. So these are it is very, very bad sort of economically in Russia. So even after this war ends, what have they got to sort of keep this war economy going?
Exactly.
Well, so it is not going to be very good for Russia either way. Even if Russia wins, like their economy is doomed.
Whoever wins, Russia loses. Okay, Emma, thank you very much for the super chat. I'll read it out. Graham, and his economy is on a war footing. The state are funding everything. Their reserves will run out, and once the war is over, the economy will collapse.
That is another point to bring up, that their inheritance from the Soviet Union, all this ammunition,
I can't see this happening. Not while the world remains not while the world remains addicted to oil. So much so that people spend every day on Facebook these days, when they're not berating people for being trans, they're saying that electric cars are the worst thing since, I don't know, the beast of the devil rode through the fiery brimstones of hell. I mean, it's like. It's weird. It's weird the way people go about this stuff. And they're like, no, we have to keep suckling at the teat of oil, of dirty, splodgy oil. And that oil is keeping people like the leaders of UAE and Saudi Arabia. It's keeping the war going in Libya. I think our third biggest supplier of oil in the UK is coming from Libya, where they're having a civil war. So when you get oil and put it in your car, or you burn it to heat your house, whatever, I suppose that's gas, but same dinosaur fart, isn't it? You're propping up a civil war that's going on in Libya that no one really talks about anymore. Oh well, but yeah, I worry about the fact that the economy was supposed to collapse 2 years ago when they first invaded, and it because of all the sanctions, and they've just gone, well, we were ready for all these sanctions, and we've got. We've got our friends in India buying our oil. We've got our friends in China buying our oil. We've got our friends in North Korea and in Iran supplying us with weapons and drones and missiles, rockets, and God knows what else.
Again, reminding of that oil stuff, because this is going to come up when we talk about Xi as well. They are buying that oil at knockdown prices. So the reality is, even though Russia is sort of selling this oil, it is having to sell more to India and China, because they are buying it at knockdown prices.
Yeah, but oil's great. You just rip it out the ground and then people burn it and need some more. It's the ultimate non-renewable energy. Non-renewable because it's going to wipe out humans, which is your customer base, which is a bit of a daft thing to do. But there you go.
The real worry point.
I don't really understand capitalism. Sorry.
The real worry point is North Korea, because obviously this is fun. Like, because Putin is pretty much buying and using North Korea as his little weapons piggy bank, shall we say, at the moment. North Korea is getting a lot of money from buying these weapons or selling these weapons to Russia. So there could now be a situation where North Korea gets a ton of money, and as we've seen from Kim Jong-un in the past recently, saying that, well, the only way to sort of restore true North Korea is through sort of military sort of aggression. Maybe he now decides to do that because now he's got the resources. Maybe he thinks America's going to be too busy watching Russia. That could also be another potential trouble point. But remember, North Korea has gone from 60s technology of Russian stuff to 80s technology, thanks to Putin. So we'll see. It's a worrying point, of course, but the fact that he has been funding Kim Jong-un to this extent is very worrying, because there's going to be repercussions around that in some way, shape, or form. But
Putin is the richest man in the world, and if you think about how much the GDP of Russia probably actually is, if you include all of the criminality, gangsterism.
So prior to the war, Russia's economy was the equivalent of Italy's.
Yeah, but that's the official economy. What I'm saying is there's a lot of black market stuff that's going on. Don't forget, where do you think the heroin comes from? All the heroin that every junkie in Europe shoots up comes via Russia, because it comes up from Afghanistan, from the poppies and poppy fields, from Afghanistan, the Taliban, thank very much, goes up through the old CIS countries like Uzbekistan and up to Kazakhstan and then into Russia. It's like a pipeline, and the Russians make a shitload of, a ridiculous amount of money from it. So, and then there's all the weapons that they sell, and there's all kinds of stuff going on below the surface. And I think it's like an iceberg. I think their GDP is at the top. We can see that, and then you've got this huge mass underneath of all the criminality that's going on between Putin, who is a gangster, and his gangster mates.
And that is actually quite helping the Ukrainians in many ways. All this corruption is helping, the Ukrainians. We've seen this, the lack of even proper effective winter clothing. They haven't got enough rifles at the front line. There's a ton of stuff that we've seen of Russian troops complaining about the fact that they have to buy their own equipment and even body armor before they go to the front. So this is all through the corruption that Vladimir Putin himself has fostered. So it is. Well,
you're making me feel a bit better.
It has helped the Ukrainians almost in a bizarre way.
Okay, well, you're making me feel a little bit better about all this. GHK, thank you very much for the super chat. Russians unalived is around 500,000. Wounded is 1.4 million. Thank you for the super chat. Grim figures there, and just what are we doing? It's 2024. Why are we doing this? Why haven't we hit the Star Trek-like utopia? We've got 3D printers, self-driving cars. What's going on?
Well,
not self-driving
I don't know. The self-driving cars aren't there yet.
No. And they never will be, because they're so infuriatingly a stupid idea. I'll tell you what, right? If I could have a computer that I could use, right, every day, for 8 hours a day, for 10 years, and not once would it crash, not once, then I will believe that a self-driving car is safe. But I don't think that's going to happen, because computers crash all the time.
Maybe eventually we'll get there. But we're not there yet.
Okay, I mean, the thing is, there's got to have sensors, and the sensors are going to be affected by the weather. I mean,
or even just unexpected
poor visibility
situations.
Yeah,
there's a video on YouTube of one of like these people that were in a like the Google taxi or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And he gets trapped in like a box.
Yeah.
Like completely boxed in.
Yeah.
And the car just completely freaks out and just starts ramming, trying to find its way out because it just can't understand just what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's the technology still is very, very, very much in its infancy.
Yeah.
So
Paul Ewan's pointing out that Star Trek needed World War III before they learnt their lesson, Greg. Yes.
Yeah.
But that was supposed to happen in the 1990s on the Star Trek timeline, and it didn't. So that's good. And also, we were supposed to have superhumans by then. That's where Khan came from. And also, Mike Organ is correcting me again. Not so grave. As someone who worked in the industry in Siberia, the extraction costs for oil are as expensive as North Sea oil. At the moment, it costs them $38 per barrel, so they're making next to nothing. Okay. Oh, that wasn't a super chat. I don't know why I thought it was a super chat. It wasn't. It was just a correction. Right, should we crack on with other stuff? Because we're halfway through the show already. We've already talked about one story. I guess we've got lots of Trump to get through.
Yeah, let's go on to Xi and Macron, because this is going to be, I think, have interesting
this is
implications.
Xi Jinping,
well. So
the leader of China.
Xi, shall we say, Xi is obviously what?
Xi Jinping?
Yeah, Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping is off visiting, doing a European tour. So he's so far visited Emmanuel Macron in France, and he's also visiting with Ursula von der Leyen as well. And his main mission at the moment is China, currently very, very worried about the fact that some of their companies have been breaking sanctions, and the US has come out and said, hey, if you don't sort this out, if you don't stop these companies doing business, we're going to put sanctions on you. So China's very, very worried about that. So they are now trying to make sure and go to sort of Europe to say, hey, we want to try and, reevaluate our trade situation, re-up our trade with you guys. We think this is sort of the right way to go, which if it is, excellent. China's economy is in a bit of attacking still after the referendum, not the referendum, the pandemic still. So they are in a bit of a problem. So the more, if there are sanctions, this is going to hurt. So he needs these trade patterns to be also with Europe.
Also, I mean, China's in a bit of up shit creek at the moment because of, is it Evergrande? What's the name of the big company that's gone tits up? The property company.
Oh yes, there was. I heard about that, but yeah,
I keep getting it mixed up with
the big scandal about that.
I get it mixed up with the ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal. But yeah, they're not. There's some problems in China at the moment, and I think that the last thing that the Chinese are going to want is Trump to start another trade war, like he did when he was in power last time, and then say China in that really fucking annoying way that he says China. God, it winds me up. Anyway, sorry, moving swiftly on. So I could see him wanting to. I could see Xi Jinping wanting to get closer to Europe, the sensible people, before it all goes completely mad at the end of the year when Trump gets in. Hang on, Eric. Oh God, I'm just getting corrected left, right, and centre here. Oh, I got to wear my special hat that says I was wrong and I accept responsibility. And Alec Barrett, thank you very much for the super chat. Star Trek World War III was in the 2060s. All right, okay. Well, what happened in the 1990s then? I thought,
that was the Bell riots, I think.
What? No.
That was that was deep DS9 stuff. That was when Cisco.
No. This is when they made the Superhumans. This is when they made Khan, as in Khan, which is what Susan Hall did this weekend. Khan.
I would have loved to do that. You know what? If Susan Hall had done that, I would have gone,
from the
what? You're a terrible person, but I'll respect you for that.
I just love the fact that Count Binface beat Britain first.
Britain first. Yeah.
That was just wonderful.
That was truly a delightful spot on that day. I mean, he got over 20,000 votes.
Yeah,
I think that's an incredible number to get vote-wise.
Orson Welles is saying eugenics wars of the 1990s, I guess. The wrath of Sadiq Khan. You see what he did there? That's very good. But yeah, and what was the name of the episode that first featured Khan?
Was it the Botany Bay?
It was. That was the name of a ship, but that wasn't the name of the episode. The
Oh,
name of the
the
episode
episode
was
was.
Space Seed. There you go. That came up on a pub quiz once. I shit you not. I was like, what the hell?
See, pub knowledge. Pub knowledge.
Pub knowledge. Pub knowledge.
I can learn everything in the pub.
Yeah,
best education you'll ever
have. Join Labour Social on June the 43rd for a special Star Trek stream. Yes, why not? We should have had the special Star Trek stream on May the 4th. That would have been funny. Wind people up.
Yeah.
No, we should have had a special Harry Potter stream. No, Harry Potter, because that's problematic now. A special Lord of the Rings stream with us dressed as Star Trek for May the 4th. That would have been boss. Anyway, look, we've got to crack on. We're shunting everyone over to Max's stream in 25 minutes, whether you want to go there or not. So, let's crack on. Hamas calls Israel's bluff over ceasefire deal. This is terrible. This is what's happening in Rafah right now. After saying for months I'm not going to attack Rafah, the Israelis are attacking Rafah just after the Hamas basically gave them everything they wanted. It's like this complete surrender deal. It was like, okay, we surrender. And Benjamin Netanyahu
they've absolutely called them. Israel put forward a deal that we don't know the full details as of yet, but from what we know, it was a 3-phased in deal that would be initial release of hostages, followed by more release of hostages from Israel, which would then release to more sort of more peace, or sort of a ceasefire, which would lead to more sort of humanitarian relief going in. Ultimately, from this peace deal, Israel got sort of everything it wanted. But unfortunately, as we've said every single time we've covered this, the biggest two problems in the Middle East is the fact that you've got Hamas and then you've got a right-wing Israeli government. And unfortunately, in this case, is the right-wing Israeli government that has said, well, actually, we'd kind of like to, just pancake this city because that will, I don't know, make us happy in some way, shape, or form. I don't know what exactly they get out of this other than, just creating a more rubble pile. Honestly, it's difficult to see what they get out of it.
Well, Netanyahu's going to go to jail as soon as he's not prime minister anymore. That's why it's still going on. This whole thing, the reason why tens of thousands of women and children are being murdered, literally slaughtered, is because of one man doesn't want to go to jail. And do you know what? The same sort of thing's going to happen in America pretty soon because one man doesn't want to go to jail over there either. And also, what's happening in Russia is happening because one man doesn't want to go to jail. Should we just throw these in jail so they can't create any more problems? Or, IDF says...
We should bring up as well big protests going on in Israel right now against Netanyahu.
Yes, yeah.
Really big protests.
There are. And a lot of Israelis are not happy with the situation, considering the idea was they were going into Gaza to get the hostages out, which they've been 100% unsuccessful at. In fact, they've actually shot hostages dead who were waving white flags. So
3 hostages they've actually rescued. The IDF has actually only rescued 3 hostages in all of this. Meanwhile, when they actually had a bit of a ceasefire, they actually had 8 hostages handed over by Hamas. So thus proving that, yes, these ceasefire deals and actually talking with Hamas, shockingly, actually works. Because one of the reasons why they are refusing this peace deal now is because Hamas has agreed to it, saying, oh, well, this is just some sort of Hamas trick. When this was the peace deal they proposed, that then Hamas has now called their bluff. And
Puninator, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Thoughts on Count Binface running in Richmond? This is Richmond, Yorkshire, not Richmond, London. Not Richmond upon Thames. I hope he does. This is Rishi Sunak's territory, home constituency. I hope he goes for it. However, I've got to say, I don't really want him to take votes away from the Labour candidate, who I hope beats Rishi Sunak. So Rishi Sunak loses his seat, which would just be the most delicious irony if the Tory leader, the Prime Minister, loses their seat. That would be
if we can get an absolute Portillo moment again.
Yeah.
Or now it would be the ultimate moment.
It will become the Sunak moment, forevermore. Anyway,
beautiful.
We need to crack on. So Israel, what they're doing, just to sum up, it's evil. I mean, they've given the opportunity for peace and they've said no. They've rebuffed it. Okay, so Trump has been found in contempt for the 10th time. And Stormy Daniels is now taking the stand. She's been talking today about what happened in his affair with the affair that she had with Donald Trump, who at the time I was married with a young baby at home, Baron or whatever his name is, and I guess Melania or whatever her name is, his wife. She's strong feminist there. Oh no, it's fine.
Yeah, everyone think of Melania. That's what the Trump supporters have been putting out this week. Won't anyone think of Melania? Won't anyone?
Trump didn't. But so his lawyers today have tried to get the trial called for a mistrial on the grounds that Stormy Daniels' testimony was a bit too detailed. And they objected to every single question that the prosecution asked this afternoon. And I just hate Trump. I just wish he would fuck off and go away. I just can't stand him. I hate seeing his stupid, ugly, orange face, his tiny little hands every day going, China. He does this thing with his lips. He talks like this. He talks like a puckered arsehole. Fucking hate him. Honestly, when he carks it, right, when he unalives, we're having the biggest party, man. Him, Murdoch, Lawrence Fox. We're just going to be piss up after piss up. But he's been found in contempt for a 10th time. He's been fined another £1,000. Ollie, I don't know how a billionaire like Trump is ever going to afford it.
Well, I'm sure. Well, someone will end up bailing him out, but or he'll just sell more NFTs or more. I don't know. He'll come up with something. I'm sure.
Yeah. One funny thing that happened this week. Milei. Do you remember Milei? Milley's Willie. You remember Milei? Yeah. The guy who's in charge of Argentina, the guy who wanted to take a chainsaw to people and stuff, and he's driven up inflation and cut public services to the bone.
It might even be more than 200% is driven up inflation in Argentina.
People want change. But he hasn't heard of Liz Truss, which is really funny. It was put to him that he was Liz Truss's favourite politician, and he said, "Who's Liz Truss? I don't even know who that is," which is quite funny. Emma Price, thank you very much. The silk pajamas, what the actual F. Thank you very much for the super chat, Emma. I don't even want to think about that. Graham, he reposted a post about Stormy from April 23rd, just a few hours ago. He must think that it must avoid the gag order. I think not. I think he's actively chose to repost it. Well, and that would mean that the judge has said, obviously, these £1,000 fines, which is like you or me getting fined a penny, aren't cutting the mustard. So he's going to have to do the right thing and throw Trump in jail. Now, there's a holding cell at the back of the court in which he could leave Trump for the lunch break or overnight if he wants to, or for 6 months. 6 months. I say 6 months. That should be contempt of court, 6 months. There you go. Happy days. And that's it. We just put him in jail. But one of the people that needs to be able to needs to be on the stand is a guy called Alan Weisselberg, who worked with Trump, but he's actually in jail at the moment. So for some reason, he can't appear in court. I don't really understand this. If someone can explain why the guy who would be a key witness in this trial is not allowed, can't go to court because he's in jail, I don't really get that.
Oh, is this the guy who with the Hunter Biden stuff because he's already been arrested for that? I don't know if this is the same guy.
It's Alan Weisenberg or something. I've forgotten his name. He's a horrible little man. I'm giving the wrong name here. Yes, Trump executive Alan Weisenberg. There you go. He got a 5-month jail sentence. So there you go. I thought I was just making up his name there. But apparently because he's in jail at the moment, he can't testify. but he had a major part in the whole hush money thing. He was, up to his neck in this Trump shit, and nothing seems to have come of it, which is kind of weird. Making up for losses with the swearing, keep it up, says Scandal UK. Thank you very much for the super chat there, Scandal. But this Trump stuff is got to go on now for another few weeks, isn't it? It's got till, was it the end of June? Is it that they're going to keep going?
Yeah, I mean, we've got. I'm just trying to think. The campaign will officially kick off when we have the Republican conference, and I have to wonder: are the Republicans really going to go through with having Trump as their candidate? Yeah, I have to seriously wonder, with all this stuff, all this jail stuff that's potentially coming through. I have to wonder: will the Republicans actually just turn around and generally try and pull something to get someone else in for running?
Latest polls, mate, he's on 49% and Biden is on 43%.
Oh,
yeah. So no, they're going to stick with him because they didn't give a shit about him being president and what he did and what he didn't do, and the fact he didn't build the wall, and the over 200,000 people who died during his catastrophic reign of terror over COVID, when he told people to inject bleach into their lungs and sunlight up their asses or something. They didn't care about that. All they wanted was to stack the Supreme Court and basically make it so that the Republicans are in power now forever, which is a plan that they're going to carry out if he gets re-elected. He's going to use executive orders to completely gut the civil service in America and make it full of yes men and women for Trump.
Yeah, Project 2025.
That's the one.
If you want to look that up, it's all.
So they're not going to drop him. I guarantee they're not going to drop him, and I think he's going to win. Honestly, I know I keep pissing people off, especially Emma, when I say this, but I genuinely think he's going to win. Every billionaire on the planet who's a fucking psychopath, because you've got to be a psychopath to be a billionaire, has a nuclear fallout shelter, and they're going to hide in their shelter while we all fight each other to the death, and then they're going to emerge and be king of and queens of the radioactive ashes. I don't think they really thought this one out, because, in order to make money, you've got to sell stuff like, I don't know, Netflix and secondhand books and things like that, and if there's no one to buy it, then you've got no one to give you money. Also, you need people to look after stuff, because otherwise, if you want to get somewhere, you need someone to operate the planes and look after the roads and change the bulbs in the streetlights and, make sure the sewers don't get full of shit. Anyway, Emma, thank you very much for the super chat. They don't need his testimony. Talking about Alan Weisenberg there, who Ernie is saying that he's the financial controller of the Trump Corp and he's in prison for perjury. 5 months for perjury. And Puninazer is having a lovely little fantasy here. Imagine Sunak's concession speech to Binface. If all the other candidates pull out of Richmond except for Count Binface, and he beats Sunak.
Well, all we can say is, CFAC's the future in Richmond. CFAC's and cheaper croissants for all.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Seraphine says, let's not forget all the pools are still weighted on the 2018 census data before COVID. And Billy says there was a recent YouTube post about some rebels attacking a Kenyan military post. They all sneaked up on a bunch and did the whole Rambo thing. Brick guy got killed. I didn't even hear about that. I'll have to look that up. And super chat's just come through from Alec. Thank you very much. Good news stateside is Trump has no local activists. Which is good. I mean, it does feel all a bit what's it called? AstroTurfy rather than grassroots. AstroTurf.
Yep.
But there are nutters who turn up to his rallies who think he's the second coming. They're like, oh, when Jesus came back, right? He did away with all the love thy neighbor and, be nice to each other.
I think that's going to turn a lot of people off eventually. I can't see these people when they actually have to go out and canvass, because you have to do it. You have to do the hard graft at some point. And these nutters, when they go to the doorsteps, they're going to turn people off in droves. So honestly,
are we talking about Trump here or Tories?
I don't think now his chances are of going to win. But as I've said before, they're not zero. So that's the big worry.
Exactly.
And I've said this before. I don't know how many times we did talk about Trump, but November's a long time to hold your breath.
Yeah.
It's a long time to hold your breath.
Yeah.
So,
and don't forget, it won't end. It won't end there as well, because he'll go nuts. And he'll if he loses, I think he'll lose the popular vote, but he might not lose the electoral vote. But could you imagine if it comes to a situation where it's a tie and it's decided by the vice president, or no, it would be the leader of the Senate.
It's the Senate, I think. Is it?
I hope it's the Senate. Jesus. Hey, do you want to know a fun fact? You know, the Tories used to have a 80-seat majority. Do you know what their majority is now? 40. They've lost half of their MPs since 2019 to scandal, sex addiction, drug addiction, corruption.
Still no general election.
Still no general election. There's no public appetite for it. He's got a plan. His plan is working.
The plan is to lose. We'll end up in a hung parliament.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a Rush in Cheshire today, he was I think it was Russ. It was either him or Ian Dunt. Maybe it was Ian Dunt. And he was just saying, like, having an election in November or December would be the maddest thing for the Tories, because a lot of their supporters, like the actual activists, they're in like their 70s and 80s. Like, are they going to knock on people's doors in the middle of winter and explain to them why we should put up with this shit show for another 5 years? I mean, I just think, what? They wiped out enough of the voter base during COVID when they, released COVID into all the nursing homes around the country. A little bit of a Trojan horse there. Thank you very much. Matt Hancock killed 18,000 British or elderly people, the Tories. And elderly people in their droves will vote for them in the next election.
No one else. We're going to talk about this. The thing that came up in the chat here from Paul Ewan. Yeah. It'll be Rovember. Women and young people's vote will help defeat Trump. I hope that is, and that does look like that might be the case.
Fingers crossed.
Going hard on abortion has really lost the Republicans a lot of that vote.
Yeah. What Angry Pagan's saying, the polls all said Republicans will smash the midterms. They did not. The conclusion, the polls over there are crap. Well, I don't think the polls were saying that as much as the Republicans wanted to believe it.
I think the Republicans got a hold of one poll and then sort of ran with that idea.
Yeah.
This was going to be this was it. It's going to be the red wave, and it never happened.
So, a red wave, a particularly heavy month.
Yeah, and of course, all of Trump's hand-picked candidates, like all the candidates he all handpicked, all lost.
Oh, what a sad story.
So honestly, I have to wonder at what point the Republicans just go, no more. We're just gonna ditch him. I mean,
yeah.
I can't see how they continue with him. Honestly, at the end of the day, they'll ditch him for someone else, and they were desperate to do this during the midterms. I think there was a lot of hope from the Republicans that they would somehow elect DeSantis instead, but that didn't happen.
Yeah. Stormy Daniels has just said that she hates Trump. She's confirmed. Am I correct that you hate President Trump? Asked Trump attorney Susan Nichols. Yes, said Daniels. And then she asked if she wants Trump to go to jail. I want him to be held accountable, is what Stormy Daniels said. Not the best thing. But there you go. But then again, I mean, she's also said that Trump called her sleazebag and horseface several times. And the prosecutor has displayed Trump's horseface case post on Truth Social. And she's reading the Trump post aloud. That was 18 minutes. My God. And apparently Daniels confirms that she owes Trump $560,000 in legal fees. So there you go. He's owed like $500,000 from a woman he had an affair with 20 years ago. What the hell is going on in this world? Why is this guy even why does he exist? Why is he Why isn't there someone in America, like one person, who's like, I'm really worried about the future because of Trump. If Trump gets back in, I mean, all bets are off. We're going to hit for civil war, possible world war.
I think it's down to what happened in our own Conservative Party as well. They became obsessed with the idea of a winner. And when Trump first ran, none of the Republicans thought he was going to win, that it was going to be like, Jeb Bush's year. Of all things, the guy who basically begged an audience to clap for him in a very, very embarrassing way. You remember that? Yeah. So that is the big takeaway. I think, both these parties got obsessed with people who were winners. And just as Boris Johnson eventually came, all the Conservatives are talking about, oh, it's Boris Johnson's election magic. A bit of that Johnson election magic. That eventually has worn off here. And I think it's more than starting to wear off now in
Seraphine in the chat. Very
small people.
Seraphine is saying there recently was a Democrat that won on reproduction issues in Alabama, which is very true. That gives me hope. That gives me hope that
I think you're going to see that repeated a lot.
And Trump is owning it. He's saying that Roe versus Wade wouldn't have been repealed had it not been for him.
Yeah, and he's reminding people that there's a reason not to vote for him.
But he's also telling people that the Democrats kill babies once they're born, which last I checked is murder. So no, that doesn't happen, Donald.
Yeah, well, they repeated that lie endlessly. Yeah, the whole idea that there's like at birth abortions, like the second the baby comes out of the womb, into the blender it goes.
Yes, because that happens. Or the microwave, whatever's closest, really. Because that genuinely happens, honestly.
I mean, where do you think baby back ribs come from?
Baby tastes best. We know that because Captain America said so in the movie Snowpiercer. Anyway, so yeah. Seriously though, Rees-Mogg, this is from Scandal UK, often hangs around, and I cornered him outside the Village Hall bus stop on his own once. He was swerving out of taking a selfie with me. All very funny at the time. Rees-Mogg was at the bus stop. Can't see Rees-Mogg getting the bus. I think he was, what was he having a bifter? What worries me is there was no talk in the US about electoral reform, says Sfax. Well, I mean, America's a bit of a weird one because you think on one hand, it has hardly any representatives on a national level compared with, say, the UK. So we have 650 MPs in the UK. And they only have 435 members of the House of Representatives, and they have another 100 members of the Senate. It's not that many. It's 535 for the entire nation of over 330 million people.
Yeah.
And you think
you've also got to remember that smaller population states get double the representation of, say, somewhere like California as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of reason that these smaller states do not want this to change. Because they have a lot of power.
But then
one of the big ones that you've seen talked a lot about that would help change this was, first of all, make Washington, D.C. an actual state.
Yes.
Give that representation.
And
that would be a big change. And of course, again, Puerto Rico, another big one as well. Give them a referendum, see what they want to do. Do they want to become part of America? Do they want to become a state?
They've had a referendum. They had one.
Did they?
Yeah. They had one in like 2016, I think it was. It was ages ago. And they said, yes, we would like to be a state in America. But it never went through, unfortunately, for some reason. That seems like a no-brainer to me. But what I was going to say is, even though there's not that much representation on a national level, actually at a state level, they elect everyone. Like, they elect sanitation commissioners to empty the bins. They elect coroners in some states. Like, you don't have to have any medical knowledge at all. And you get to declare how everyone died if it's a bit suspicious. You get to say, well, yeah, that was definitely a suicide. They definitely killed themselves and packed themselves into that suitcase.
This is actually a problem that they've actually started to realize. And it's something the Democrats are slowly starting to turn around on, that they've lost a lot of power at like the state and local level. Yeah. And a lot of people are actually starting to realize, actually, it's quite important to, in America, what is called voting down ballot.
Yeah.
So you'd get sort of your vote for your senator, and then you'd have all these other boxes as well for like all these other different positions.
Judges.
And most of the time,
Judges.
these do not get voted in. So it's as you said, it's judges. There's a ton of like elected like positions in America that the Republicans just control, and it gives the party a lot of power.
Yeah.
So
a lot more power than they should have. But also it's because if you're going to run as a judge, you can get someone who owns a prison, a company that runs a private prison to pay for your re-election fund. And so you're the one on TV, you're the one on all the billboards, you're the name that everyone recognizes on the paper. And if no one has any idea of who to vote for in a particular election, they're going to vote for name recognition. So the person who spends most on advertising wins, just like in referendums. And that's one of the reasons why we talk about democracy and different flavors of democracy, and there's no one size fits all when it comes to democracy. There's lots of different types around the world.
Yeah,
Switzerland's more.
I mean, it's when you look at our electoral reform.
Yeah.
When you look at our version of electoral reform, what we want to try and do, it's vastly different from what they want to do and where they want to go. They roughly want to keep their system as it is, but they also want to sort of change it in like some really subtle ways, like how the vote is counted. Not necessarily going sort of full PR, but ranked choice being sort of one that is done at a local level. In some states, they actually have already gone in that direction and changed how the vote works.
They need to do something about the gerrymandering over there, mate.
But it needs a lot more messaging in America, because most Americans do not see like how they elect their politicians currently as a problem. Like there's completely a different sort of style and messaging how it goes on in America, sort of how we would talk about it.
We're not one to talk, are we? Because our election system is absolutely freaking bonkers. Not least the fact that we have elections on a Thursday, which I just still can't get my head around. Like, why not a Sunday when everyone's most people are off work?
Just have it on a Friday. Just have a bank holiday. And just do it over like that weekend.
Yeah, that'll do.
I think that would actually increase the turnout. Actually, if you had voted over 2 days rather than one, and you had the bank holiday, I think that would be a very big boost to voter turnout. But I might be wrong.
I don't want. We don't have time to talk about this because we're going to send people Max's way. But no, I don't personally. I don't want to encourage people who don't have any interest or knowledge of politics to vote, because I think they'll make bad decisions because they're not informed enough. If you don't care about it enough to just do a little bit of research, then I don't want to be marched into the polling booth. Quick, make a decision. Quick, put your X next to someone. I don't know who to do it. Anyone, doesn't matter. And they'll just put it on either the name they recognise or the one at the top comes first alphabetically. Anyway, in my opinion, this is Jup James' last comment of the night. The biggest problem in the US system is the head of state is also head of government and head of the FBI, the CIA, and the military. Yeah, and the Coast Guard and Homeland Security and the EPA. And anyway, far too many hats for one person to think. Why are we being sent to Max's channel? Is something special going on? Asked Hater. No, we just send you over to Max's. You don't have to. You could stay. You could go and do something else with your night if you like. But Max's show has just started over on Maximilian's channel, so we're going to wrap up here. And if you keep watching this that you're watching now, it'll automatically take you over to see Max as soon as the credits finish. So thanks very much. Thanks very much, Ollie, for coming on and talking to us about what's been going on around the world this week. Awesome stuff. And thank you for watching and for the wonderful chat and the super chat.
We'll talk about Eurovision, like the crazy stuff that happened at Eurovision this week.
Yeah, we'll do a Eurovision special next week. And until then, thanks for watching.
We'll get some good songs. Like we got was it Subwoofer?
I like the Poe song last year about Edgar Allan Poe, and the Croatians. The Croatian song about mother going to war or something. Tell me, Mom, we've got to go to war. That was brilliant. Right. Anyway,
the War for Banana. that was the weird song of that. I think. Yeah.
Anyway, enjoy Max's stream, and until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.
Bye.